Hello, guys. Welcome to a new episode of Teen Talks. We've been in a different scenario today. We're at TED Talks Lisbon, and today we have Astrid. She's the CEO of State of Art, and she joins art with the marketing. And with the audience that is not here today, can you give just a little summary that what you talked today?
Well, my talk was about what art would be like, what life would be like without art, because art is a common denominator of our life, and it's important for each and one of us. So, without art, life wouldn't have any meaning. Because imagine a life without paintings or music or literature or theater. It would just be a very gray landscape of pure functionality, We wouldn't have any joy, we wouldn't have any color, we wouldn't have any depths. So for me, art and culture is essential for our life. It's essential for our joy and essential for meaning.
So, this channel is directly to high schoolers. So do you think arts have any impact on education in any way?
Well, there are so many studies that actually prove that art and culture is directly related to student attainment. So students who engage in arts are better in mathematics, they're better in reading, it increases the SAT scores, they have better thinking skills, better cognitive abilities, they concentrate better. And there was actually a study done of 25,000 students in the US, and they discovered that children taking part in arts and cultural activities and high school students, they would actually score much higher in the SAT scores than the other kids. So it's really important. And why is that? Because engaging with arts stimulates our creativity. When we play the piano, it really touches different regions in our brain, It's not just about memorizing. It actually stimulates a bunch of different areas in our brain. And this helps students to become better. They not only in their professional and educational life, but also they become more socially aware, Studies have proven that art and culture actually improves social cohesion and engagement with other people. They like to volunteer. They are more socially aware, So there's so many advantages of children and students taking part in arts.
No, yeah. I played the drums.
Yeah.
So, and I would say that.
So did I. I was a time I had my own band.
I would say it helps a lot because you need to have the rhythm. You need to know, and especially in math, you can do it in your head.
Exactly.
It's easier. So a little more about your history. What inspired you to leave financial consulting and create the State of the Arts?
Well, I grew up in a world immersed in art and culture, so I was so used to live with art and culture throughout my childhood and my youth. I started my first instrument at the age of 5, and I was always... It was always part of my life. I was singing in the school choir. I was playing the violin in the local orchestra. We would sing together as a family in the Christmas season. So it sounds a bit like the Van Trapp family from Sound of Music. But it's true. And so when I started my career in financial and strategy consulting, which I like, after some years I felt something was missing. It's like an essential part of myself went missing. So by reconnecting my professional experience with the cultural sector, I suddenly felt whole again. I was reconnecting to my inner child,
Yeah.
And I think that's so important because when we work today, and I think for your audience, students, they really need to do something they like to do, Because otherwise you just go to your job and you just look at the watch and say, oh, when is it over? When I can go home, when I can go surfing or do something else, And so it's so important to choose something that you're passionate about. And that is what I did. It's not that I did not like consulting. And it gave me so many meaningful a meaningful way to change the world, to understand how I can change the reality of companies. But combining this with something I like, with something I'm passionate about it's so much better.
Oh yeah, talking with a lot of professionals, I learned that your job is like your second home. You know, you need to learn to love it and stuff. So, what role does creativity play in shaping successful marketing strategies today, in your opinion?
Well, creativity is everything nowadays, especially within artificial intelligence.
Yep.
Creativity will play a more and more important role in our society. So we use art and culture as a communication tool, and it's a very powerful tool. Because when we create marketing strategies for our clients, whether it's for them to improve their positioning or get more traffic, it's all about making a difference. It's speaking to the hearts and minds of people, and culture can do that. Art can do that. If you play a song that sometimes you feel goosebumps all over your body. This makes a difference, and this really also shapes the decisions of consumers nowadays. So it's much more powerful than just, I don't know, tell people, okay, just buy more and you get a discount. So I think it makes a real difference.
Yeah, like a lot of companies nowadays use these trademarks. For example, Nike, like just do it, like the drawing of it calls the attention.
Yeah.
So just a final question. How do you think young people can start a career in art without a network in the area?
Well, network always helps, and that is a very, very important fact. But you can create it, just go to, I don't know, inaugurations of art exhibitions, just start going to the theater, start going to concerts and start to meet people at those places, and that will help you get a network, because network is very important. I'm not going to lie to you. It's sometimes more important than your professional ability. So you need to merge those two, You need to be good at what you do, but you also need to create a network, because this will allow you to meet new people, get new horizons, get new perspectives on different subjects. So I would recommend all high school students out there, if you want to work in art and culture, just try and meet artists. Go to your next exhibition in your neighborhood. There's so many things for free that you can do, and where you can meet really, really interesting people, and they will help you move forward, because that was what people in the cultural sector do. They help each other.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
For coming here. Do you have any final words to the audience?
Well, the final words would be, do what you really are passionate about. If it's art and culture, I highly recommend it, because it really will lift your spirit and speaks directly to your heart.
Thank you so much. Goodbye, guys. Hello, guys. Welcome back to a new episode of Team Talks. We're still at TED, and today we have Inês. Inês, present yourself to the public.
Hi everyone, my name is Inês Ayet, and I'm from Portugal, but I currently work as a senior designer at Instrument in New York.
So, just a start off question, what inspired you to be a designer?
For me, it was because design really has the power to bring different solutions and touches so many different areas. I could be working on a project that is about social justice, about law, about a product, about a service. So it gives me really the diversity to use not only communication and the visual components, but also all of the strategic sides and the thinking behind all different problems and global challenges.
What would you say is your favorite sector to work in?
Everything that's related with the innovation and health, I would say. I think there's a fast-growing probability to do new things and really risk and prototypes. And so for me, it's very interesting to explore it in that sense.
Okay. So New York is a big city for design and stuff. And what was your history until you reached New York?
So I come from the Azores, the archipelago from Portugal. And from an early age, I felt that the islands was too small for all of the different ambitions and different areas that I would like to explore. So I first, when I was 17, I came to Lisbon, and in Lisbon I had a chance to do a BA in communication design at the Faculty of Fine Arts, and that gave me a lot of tools in terms of visual language, learn how I could be and shape my creative self. And then after that, I had a very interesting, after working for a while in one of my teacher's studios, design studios here in Lisbon, I had a chance to be invited to do an internship in Berlin in a bigger design agency. And there we were already crossing design with digital and with the advertising as well. And so it gave me a broad spectrum of areas within the creative field. Then after a while, more or less 1 year, I came back to Portugal and started also working within the sector of digital studios. And there was a point that I was working already with so many different ideas and projects outside of work as well as a freelancer that I decided in 2020 to really found my design studio, a studio I had initially in Portugal right before the pandemic, and then that grew a lot into having this idea that I always wanted to have the experience to live in the chaos and creative chaos that is New York. Yeah. And I decided to do my master's degree there. And I went to graduate school, and it was very important because then I had this idea of how can you use design related with startups as well. And so it has been an amazing experience, and I have been based there for the past 4 years.
So just a final question. How do you think young people can do design without any network? Or you think network is essential for this area?
Yeah, I think the thing about networking, and I take it very seriously, I try to every week go to at least 2 events in the city that where I can meet people from completely different areas. Because I feel that sometimes we make the mistake of doing networking only within our areas of expertise, in this case creative, but it's more and more important to do networking with people from other areas, because you never know where your prospective clients will be. And so going back to your question, to really start in design, I think it would be find your passion project and find the problems that really makes you tick and makes you want to develop further and further. And there's a lot of, now with AI, a lot of tutorials and a lot of online tools that you can use. Mm-hmm. But then my advice would be to try and reach out to studios that you admire and a designer that you feel that are your role model, and ask them for advice, for feedback on your portfolio, for mentorship, and also for possible internships. And then I think that it's a job that you also learn a lot by doing, and because there's a lot of concepting stage, but when you start doing in action, it's a completely different experience.
Look, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming here and giving this interview. Do you have any final words to the audience?
I would say stay curious. I think that nowadays with the information being growing at a rate that we cannot really compare, and with the attention spans getting shorter and TikTok videos, brain rot and all of that, I think that we really need to keep your curiosity open and never stop researching about new things, because I think we never stopped learning and growing. Even though if we are not at school, we should always try to improve ourselves.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Bye-bye, guys. Hello, guys. Welcome to a new episode of Team Talks. We're still at TedX Lisbon, and we have Francisco here. Can you present yourself to the audience?
Hi, nice to meet you. So my name is Francisco Geronimo, and I lead a team of researchers, market research analysts, helping consumer electronic brands on their strategies. So we are talking about smartphones and PCs and tablets, all the gadgets that we use in our lives, and we advise those brands how they can improve their business.
So, to the audience that is on here today, can you just give a brief summary of what you spoke today?
So today my talk was about the circle economy, because we all love our gadgets. We love phones and PCs and tablets, and we need them. But when, for some reason, we need a new one or it gets broken, we throw it away, potentially we recycle it. Those devices have a very short lifespan, and the impact on the environment is huge. So I was mentioning one of the key stats. Every single of us produces 11.2 kilos of electronic waste every single year. So if we keep at this rate, growing at this rate, this will have a massive impact, because most of those devices, they require components with toxic materials. And is there any solution? And I believe there is, which is the circle economy. So instead of just buying a new one when we need to buy or to use a new device, why can't we try to get it repaired? Or why can't we extend the life cycle of that product by keep it a bit longer, or refurbishing that device and buying a refurbished device, which means that we are buying a device with a second or even third life, and that has a massive positive impact.
I'm sure that before your talk, I didn't know the electronic device had this impact on the climate. Do you think the media around electronic devices effect on the climate change, is it too little, or does it a little more attention? Be like, oh guys, this is serious.
Yeah, I think it's not just about the media providing more attention. I think it's more about education, because we don't know how easy it is to make a different choice, and that is getting way better today. Because in the past, if a smartphone broke, it was very hard to get it repaired, or very expensive. It was not even worth it. Today, there's this strong trend towards refurbished, much lower price points, and they look like new and they work like new. But people don't really know. We don't know as consumers what are the benefits. When we go to a store to buy a new phone, we don't know why you should buy secondhand, refurbished. What are the benefits? And we think maybe it's not working as well as a new one, or will not last as long. But they do, because they go through a process of certification, so we can't really trust, and it comes with warranty. So it's all about education. Of course, the media are talking a lot about the circle economy. They could mention this a lot more, but it's in our hands and that's why this event was so important from an educational perspective, to tell people what they can do, because our power is the choices we make at the point of sale when we need to buy something.
What do you say are the benefits of buying a secondhand device? Because I think, especially me as a consumer, when I go buy a secondhand device, I'm scared of getting scammed, of being like buying off, like, I don't know, out of AliExpress and being scammed. What do you say is like the benefits, or maybe to avoid being scammed?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because there are two things here that we need to distinguish. One is when I go on eBay or any website and buy a device that from someone else that I don't know whether the device is working or not. That's one of one part of the market. And of course, there's high risks. You are buying something with no guarantee that it's going to even work. Mm-hmm. What we are talking about is different, is the refurbished product. So when you buy a new phone, you trade in, you give your current phone back. That phone will be tested, repaired. If there's something not working well, they will fix it. If there needs a new battery, they will replace the battery. And then they sell, the brand or the channel sells that device as refurbished. So it's a pre-owned, second-hand, but certified. And it comes with warranty. So it's very different from going on any website and buying completely darkness. You don't know what you are getting. But if you go and buy a refurbished, certified device, with everything that happened to the device in the digital product passport that is being introduced in Europe, then you know what you are getting. There's no risk.
There's no guarantee.
And there's a guarantee up to 3 years. So it's very different from buying something you don't know, or from a friend, from the internet, or buying from a store with full assessment and being tested.
For example, I have my phone for already 5 years, and I love it. It's still working
Still working.
perfectly.
Yeah, of course, at some point you will consider getting another one or a better one. But when we do, you don't need to buy the latest one, the most expensive one, or a brand new. You can find refurbished options, certified, no risk or very low risk, and get a much better experience. Because what is happening in Europe is that European Union is legislating and making the brands to keep supporting those devices for longer periods of time. Most of the times we need to replace our phones because the battery dies and it's very difficult to replace it, or the operating system is not being supported. And you feel like, okay, I'm using a phone that I bought 5 years ago, but I'm missing on a lot of the features that are available today, and I need to buy a new one because the brands were supporting operating systems for 2, maximum 3 years. And after that, you are using some old technology. From now, the phones and PCs and tablets will be supported for 5 years after the end of the product life, meaning that for 7, 8 years, you will get always the latest software updates and the latest operating system. So if you have a decent phone, you will get everything compared to what you get when you buy a new one, and that's the benefit.
I didn't know that. That's amazing. So you basically have like an upgraded iPhone for at least like a decade-ish kind of?
Exactly. So one of the most popular phones today, refurbished, is the iPhone 12 and 13, which were launched a few years ago. When you compare the specs of an iPhone 12 or 13 to the 14 and 15, the base models, they are very similar. Same camera, same processor, same screen size. So why should you be buying a 14 or 15 when you can get a 13 for half the price with almost the same specs? And that's the benefit of buying refurbished, because you are buying a device that was launched 1 or 2 years ago or 3. The specs are very similar and the price is 50% or even more cheaper than buying a new one.
So just a final question. What you will tell the young people out there how to help in this circular economy?
Well, it's all about getting interested and considering the alternatives. We can all make a difference. We have a superpower, which is the choices we make at the point of sale when we buy something. So that's what they need to consider. First and foremost, consider repairing. If your device breaks, get it repaired. And if you need to buy another one, consider refurbished, because you are helping the environment. You are cutting CO2 emissions by 92% compared to manufacturing a new one.
Wow.
So that's a huge impact.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to go to a point of sale and say, oh, okay, I have 2 options: brand new, second-hand, refurbished, certified, tested, etc. This is 50% more expensive than the refurbished. Okay, let me compare the specs. Whoa, I get everything I need. That's it. It's just keeping in mind that compare and look for alternatives, because when you do that, I can guarantee you that most of the times people will buy refurbished instead of brand new.
Look, thank you so much for your time. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming up here.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words to the audience?
In terms of the circle economy,
Just final words, just a little comment at the end. What you've
yeah, so this is indeed a great topic. And as consumers, we will buy over 300 devices over our lifetime. So this is a huge problem. Last year, 1.2 billion smartphones were sold. And if we add all the smart home and wearables and PCs and tablets and all those gadgets that we need and love, we are talking about trillions of products. So we can make a difference. We can make a difference. We cannot just say, oh, this is something for the brand to solve, or for governments. No, we can make a difference, because we can decide what we're going to buy without making any compromises, without risking anything. It's just a question of making different options. And that's how you can also have an impact, because you are the generation that can really have a huge impact. And you were born in the internet age, in the smartphone age. So there's no way you will ever say, I don't need a smartphone or a tablet or a PC or any other gadget. So you need to start considering what options you make, because if you don't make the right options, you will feel the pain. We all see all these environment challenges that we have today. It's all about you making that decision when you need a new device, because it can easily happen. And reducing, it's like, as I mentioned before, 11.2 kilos of electronic waste each of us produces every year. If you extend the lifespan of the products for another 1 to 3 years, we are cutting the size of this waste. And that's very easy to do.
Thanks so much. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Olá, galera, tudo bem? Seja bem-vindo a mais um episódio aqui no Team Talks. A gente está aqui no TED, a gente está com a Márcia. Márcia, se introduz aí para a audiência, por favor.
Bom, obrigada, Miguel. Oi, pessoal, muito prazer. Eu sou Márcia Martins, brasileira, de São Paulo. Estou aqui em Lisboa, no TED Talk. Fui convidada para falar sobre vida e estações do ano. Eu sou apaixonada por Amazônia. Minha família, eu sou a terceira geração ligada à terra e para quem não sabe, 60% do território brasileiro é amazônico. Então todo mundo sabe o que é uma pérola, um Swarovski, mas pouca gente sabe o que é uma paxiúba. Então eu acho que o Brasil é um país muito jovem, né? Nós temos 250 anos de independência, de história, e eu não fico pagando pau só para uma cultura estrangeira. Eu acho que Brasil é potência, Brasil é biodiversidade cultural, social, ambiental. Então eu vim falar sobre esse poder intangível, quase invisível de uma floresta nativa. Porque para você, Miguel, para a tua audiência, moçada, é com vocês agora. A minha geração, ela está olhando para trás, né? Como é que vocês vão construir o novo futuro? Vocês estão com muito mais acesso à informação, a poder de decisão, a um poder de articulação que a minha geração não tinha. Imagina, gente, eu nasci, era máquina de escrever, não tinha celular. Vocês conseguem imaginar a vida sem celular?
Eu não consigo.
Então eu vim falar sobre a beleza da Amazônia. A EcoArtes é uma associação sem fins lucrativos. A gente faz collab com marcas líderes globais, já fizemos com Emporio Armani, com Vista Alegre de porcelana. Aqui estou usando um lenço, na verdade os pais de vocês aí que vão e as mães que devem gostar, falando sobre a Amazônia brasileira. Como é que você explica um troço chamado Amazônia que pega 60% de um território? É um mundo. Então você tem que falar por imagens, imagem todo mundo entende, iconografia brasileira. Falei demais, né?
Não imagina. Minha primeira pergunta seria, o que inspirou você a criar esse projeto na Amazônia?
Angústia e vontade de deixar para as gerações futuras, como a sua, o que eu tive na minha infância. Eu tive a sorte de nascer numa família que prezava a natureza, fazendeiros, colonizadores, mas que sempre tinham respeito pela natureza. Nós somos 6 irmãos, então você tem um monte de irmão também, não tem?
Tem.
Vocês brigavam?
A gente brigava quando era mais criança.
Então, quando a gente era criança também brigava, daí meu avô dava uma varinha para cada um e falava, agora vocês se batem. E aí a gente parava de brigar. E a gente podia brigar entre nós, mas se triscava numa planta, amigo, a casa caía. E eu fiz a mesma coisa com as minhas filhas, porque a gente começa agora, a sua geração começa a perceber que as árvores são seres sencientes. Tem inteligência, tem estratégia, tem comunicação. A gente acha que é só o humano que tem direito, não. Existem os direitos da natureza. Isso vai ser na sua geração, quando você tiver na minha idade, eu espero, isso vai ser valorizado. O poder da vida nativa, da vida natural. Hoje a gente fala muito inteligência artificial. Gente, é inteligência natural. Quem que sabe ler uma estrela sem usar aquele aplicativo lá, Skyviewer, que na verdade não explica nada, ou só explica 12 signos, né? Então eu acho que a tua geração, você perguntou por que eu já estou em outra resposta, né? O que me inspirou? O desejo de deixar um legado, de deixar as florestas nativas, porque o Brasil ainda tem floresta nativa. Sim. Se você olhar na Europa, sabe quanto de floresta nativa tem em Portugal, bases oficiais? Menos de 1%, o resto é floresta plantada. Sabe quanto a França tem de floresta nativa? Bolas. Você tem que olhar uma tapeçaria, um albusson chamada verdure, que são desenhos de floresta. Então o Brasil tem um ativo, e todos os países sul-americanos, chamado florestas virgens, são santuários. E a gente tem o dever de fazer uma árvore viva vale mais que uma árvore morta.
No seu discurso você falou que você saiu de São Paulo para voltar para o Mato Grosso. E um dos meus objetivos aqui do meu canal é mostrar diferentes carreiras para as pessoas e para achar sua paixão. Você acha que dá para trabalhar só por dinheiro ou tem que trabalhar com o seu coração e por paixão?
Amor, você não pode trabalhar por dinheiro, eu vou dizer de cara, assim. Tudo que eu fiz por dinheiro não vingou. Quando você põe o seu coração, a sua verdade à frente, os caminhos se abrem. Vai trabalhar por dinheiro, quem conta centavo, conta centavo. O dinheiro vem, eu falo que dinheiro é igual amor. Você não corre atrás dele, ele vem até você. Então você tem que ter integridade no que faz. Não tenha relações de utilidade. Não cultive, não troque seu tempo por dinheiro. E assim, você vai mudar. Você vai mudar. Sabe o que eu queria ser quando eu era criança? Eu queria ser trapezista de circo. Aí depois eu falei, não, quero ser cantora. Eu adoro um palco, né? Porque eu gosto de ser... Aí eu falei, pô, quero ser artista. Ai, não vou ter coragem, né, gente? Como é que eu vou pagar minha conta? Então eu fui mudando. E aí eu falei, vou ser professora de história, porque não tem faculdade de história aqui na cidade que eu vivo, eu posso sair desse lugar, né? E aí fui fazer história, me decepcionei com a faculdade. Eu falei, vou fazer direito, né? Pelo menos saber onde... Me decepcionei com a faculdade, eu fui trabalhar no mercado financeiro. Então, vida é o que acontece enquanto você faz planos. Essa sua pergunta, a minha filha me faz. Eu falo, follow your heart, follow your bliss. Faz aquilo que hoje faz sentido para você. Então, eu pergunto para você, você está aqui porque você acredita ou por causa do dinheiro?
É porque eu tô aqui porque eu acredito.
Então é isso, porque a verdade abre seus próprios caminhos, é isso que eu posso falar dos meus quase 60 anos.
Só uma perguntinha final para acabar. O que você falaria para os jovens, né? Como ajudar o meio ambiente, como você, do dia a dia, como você inspira eles a ajudar?
Eu acho que é o seguinte, tá na palma da mão de vocês. Parem de olhar para a caverna de Platão, que são os celulares, e engolir. Eu chamo de rio, vocês chamam de rios, eu chamo de hells, porque eu acho o inferno. Parem dessa vida de facilidade. Aprofundem, leiam, pesquisem. Use, hoje você, pelo seu smartphone, você acessa todas as bibliotecas do mundo. Você acessa livros antigos. Então, assim, não se contente com o que vem na sua tela. Estude, aprenda, entenda, ande com atenção, olhe as plantas ao seu redor, olhe o chão que você pisa. Você deve estar destruindo semente todo dia que você não está vendo. Não adianta dar um clique e falar, resolvi o problema, entendeu? Não dá. Tem que agir. E assim, vocês são tão responsáveis quanto os governos, quanto as empresas. Não apontem o dedo para ninguém, porque quando você aponta o dedo para alguém, tem 3 dedos apontando para você. É contigo e eu espero que vocês façam melhor do que a minha geração pôde fazer.
Muito obrigado pelo seu tempo, por vir aqui. Você tem uma última palavra, um último comentário que você quer fazer?
Sim. Sigam o EcoArts, Ecologia Arts, _ Amazônia, no Instagram.
Segue lá, galera. Tchau, tchau. Hello, guys. Welcome back to a new episode of Teen Talks. We're still at TEDx, and we're with Hamid. Hamid, could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, my name is Rami Tarazi. I was born in Gaza a long time ago, more than 50 years ago. And yes, and I was here to talk about how the power of dreaming shaped my life. This is the talk was about. If the story is how the power of dreaming.
Just a little summary.
Yes, a little summary. And yes, and the story. I continue.
No, you can continue.
Exactly. So the story has the dream, but because for us, like teenagers, like me when I was your age, how we can differentiate between dream to come to the reality? There is a gap because this has become a wishful thinking. But knowledge is the one will bring the dream to reality because you will know. Then become curious. Then you become curiosity. And the third important point was in my talk is about compassion. Because compassion is important for us as a human when we dream, to dream with compassion toward the others. Because if you didn't do that, your dream might become a nightmare for other people. And we see it a lot. So some people of dreaming of having rivieres in some places in the world, and these rivieres can become hell on earth for the inhabitants. So that's where compassion is required.
So my first question is, on your talk you said you needed to live in different multiple areas, but didn't have that opportunity to return to home.
Yes.
And how did you create that strong mindset? And how was it for you?
Well, when you're born in a place where you don't have any freedom, you are different, right? So you become. So from a young age, I always ask why I cannot be like the Portuguese, right? Be able to travel, go. I look at my travel document at the time, and when it's nationality, now you say Portuguese. At the time, for me, nationality was undefined. So we didn't know what to put here. So this makes a drive, a context that will pushes you to be more resilient. And this can happen to any people. It's just like, so I was born in Gaza, then I moved to France, and then went back to Gaza. But Gaza has changed also. And then I decided to move on and do my career. So I lived in Abu Dhabi, and then moved to Ireland, and then to France again, and then to the UAE today.
So I just wanted to return to a previous point you made. Why do you say that knowledge could break this gap?
Because
to reality?
Yes, because knowledge is the way you will bring curiosity. So without knowing, you have if you don't dream or you don't know, you're not curious. Real. There is no how we're gonna be curious. So the curiosity comes from these two elements. Is basically you're dreaming, but also knowing. When I read the history of a place, when I read the subject matter, then this subject matter will become for me, then I will, with my dream, okay, I can change it. The status quo, I don't like it. How I change the status quo? Well, it's very good if you have a little bit of knowledge, because other people has been through that.
Yes.
So it will help us, instead of reinventing the wheel, is to just to follow suits. I don't know if I answered, but this is why it is important. And people and the school, the kids in school always, my kids, I have children your age, and it takes me a while to tell them that the value you're getting today, you will only realize it when you become older, and you don't want to say, I wish I did. I wish I did is not good usually. You can do it, but it's better to understand it from today.
I know this is not your area, but just from a personal standpoint, do you think AI is going to help this knowledge buildup, or
I think so. I think so. I know. AI will not replace. I don't believe AI will become conscious. This is an ask. I don't believe in that. It will never become conscious. It will never have feeling. It will never cry. It will never laugh. But it will be very intelligent. It's an intelligent device, and if it's used in an intelligent to enhance our understanding, then it's amazing.
Sure.
But if you use it, if you believe in this will replace you,
yeah,
good luck with that. Cannot replace you. It will not have the same feeling like you have. Cannot smile like now.
So you had to reinvent yourself multiple times. And what mindset and skills helped you navigate these challenges?
Reading.
Really?
Yes. Really, since I was 6 years old, I found reading is probably the most amazing place that I can go and visit, because knowledge, without that, I don't know how I'll be able to navigate all these problems that I have. Because everything I went to, like when I started social activism, when I was in Gaza at 14 years old, I was working in the YMCA, Youth Men Christian Association. We had it in Gaza at the time. And we had a summer camp called School YMCA, right? So all these, I wouldn't have gone there if I didn't read Tolstoy, if I didn't read some Russian literature or French or Simone de Beauvoir, or all these people has talked about all this human rights. All what I'm talking about, I didn't invent it, right? So this will give you the possibility to change things. I can do that. I can do that. This is what happened there. South Africa is another example where apartheid is there. So we can fight apartheid this one.
So just the final question.
Yes.
What advice you give to young people facing uncertainty but eager to build their future?
Then you have to believe. Without the belief, you don't do it. So basically, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in capacity to change. You have to believe in your dream. You have to work for your dream. Otherwise, all of us dream. But if you don't work toward achieving this dream by knowledge, compassion, or what I said before, you're just going to stay in a wishful thinking.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you for you, and good luck for everybody here.
Do you have any final comments you want to give to the audience?
Listen to your parents.
Very good one. Very good one. You got it. Hello, guys. Welcome to a new episode of Teen Talks. We are still at TedX, and we have Bruno here. Bruno, would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Well, my name is Bruno Galvão. I am a lawyer for about 15 to 20 years, and I'm from Brazil originally, but I work now in Berlin, Germany.
So to the audience that's not here today, can you just give a brief summary that what you spoke today in your talk?
Yeah, well, my idea today was to bring the awareness of the time that we're living, the importance of defending our rights. This is very important to remember that right doesn't live in the vacuum. We need to enforce our rights every day so they have existence, so they have soul. Otherwise, they're just like words written in a piece of paper. It doesn't matter anything. So, and the law that I really wanted to focus today was the European Green Deal, which is a very important legislation. It's several legislations that is a response to the concerns of climate change.
So on your talk, you spoke about transitioning from like a company more type of lawyer to more ecologically type of lawyer.
Yeah.
So how going from a fixed good job transition to that, like what's your mindset?
Well, I was miserable doing what I was doing back in São Paulo. I had a good career. I used to work in a very important law firm, but I was miserable. My life was terrible. I was grumpy, moody. I treat everyone poorly. And if I continued to that path, I would, I don't know, die of a heart attack or something like that. So it didn't, I mean, for me, the math didn't add up. Having a nice job and having like a salary that would make my life good actually would make my life miserable, because I didn't have time for thinking about a family. I didn't have time to really living what I think is important. So then, because of that, I didn't have any choice than trying to pursue something else. It was, try and error. It was a process. It took a long time. But then I found myself, and then I stopped thinking much about, well, will this, give me a good career? If you're really into something, and I'm not saying, yes, if you're really into something, all good things will happen. That's not it. Bad things will happen as well. You need to react to that. It's a path. And if you like what you're doing, the path is what it matters. And you will fight either way. If you're doing something miserable, you will find the path either way. So try to find something that it means something to you. And then the result will also mean something to you. So at the time, a lot of my friends called me crazy. Now they say that I'm courageous. Most of the time, the difference between the two is just the result.
Yeah.
So you just need to not be afraid of living as you think it's meaningful.
So you strongly believe that working for money, just for money, is going to be miserable to your life?
For sure. I mean, of course, money is important. We need to find ways to survive and to, provide and having nice things as well. It's all part of the game. But if you're only doing for that, well, I talk for myself. It will not be worth it. It will not pay off. You will. I mean, I felt like that didn't make sense.
Just switching the topic a bit, why do you think the governments and companies are pushing forward the agenda of the 2019 law?
Well, because it costs, because it's hard, because companies, not all companies, but some companies, we always think about the today, profit, how to be more profitable. And thinking about today will make them think, well, why don't we just push it a little bit further? Why don't we think about, we're having real problems as well with, prices rising up, wars and all of that. It is hard to balance things up. So it's hard to have a long-term concern when the today is very hard. But if we give up on our beliefs and our, principles just because it's hard, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference having beliefs and principles.
So just as the final question to end the interview, which advice you give to young people which are scared to make a transition to another area they think they like, from an area they think they feel locked in?
Well, the only thing I can give as a tip is don't be afraid. You will mess up. You will feel scared. It will be hard, but it is what it is. And if you're being meaningful to yourself, your action, your daily life is meaningful, and that's all it takes. And that's all it matters.
It's all part of living, right?
Yes, that's true.
Thank you so much for your time.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
so much for being here. Do you have any final comments you want to tell to the audience about the law or about transitioning?
I think when people think about law, they think about a very boring, like trying to memorize things and texts. Well, you have to read a lot and you have to dedicate yourself a lot. But law is a very meaningful, important instrument for change. And we need a lot of people that believes in that in law. And that's my mentality of it.
I completely agree. Bye-bye, guys. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to a new episode of Teen Talks. We're here at still TedX. I know it's been a long day, a lot of episodes. Could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Sim. I'm Charlene Lamb. I am an artist and a curator and the founder of the Grief Gallery. I create spaces and I make space for grief, usually death-related grief, but also grief is more than just death, which is challenging one of the myths about grief.
Charlene, right?
Charlene.
Could you just give a brief summary of what you spoke today in your talk?
Sure. The working title for my TEDx talk is Grief Taught Me How to Hold Lightly and to Live in Full Color. Because I think usually when we think of grief, we think dark, heavy, painful. And of course, loss is painful, but I also believe that grief can be beautiful. It can be creative. It can help us to live a better life. So that was the approach that I was going for.
So, on your talk, you spoke about the grief of your mother dying and stuff. So what do you think inspired you to take maybe another way to grieve, like this more creative way instead of the traditional part of like just being sad, throwing away stuff? What inspired you to take this more creative route?
I found that personally, I didn't grieve in the way that you see in movies. I'm not a very big crier. So my mother died very suddenly. So when I got the news that she had died, it turned out it was a stroke. I cried in the moment that I found out, and then I didn't really cry for at least a year. I think maybe even the first 2 years. And I had the kinds of questions that a lot of people do of, am I grieving right? Am I doing it wrong? Am I a bad daughter? Why aren't I grieving in a way that people expect? But I found that looking back, I was grieving in my own way. That very early on, I was listening to my instincts to say, you know what, maybe you want to put on a sad song and you want to dance to it. Or I do art. I use design in my grief work because my instinct was to say, you know what, I want to do an exhibition about my mother. That's what I was already doing for work in London. So, but I was working with artists and designers. But my instinct said, I want to do an exhibition about my mother using her belongings. And it didn't make sense, right? Logically.
But it didn't make sense like this. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So when I decided to help other people, I said, okay, let me look at why this was so helpful for me. And clearly, what's expected is not necessarily what's best for everyone. Yeah.
But I know you said it's not best for everyone, but by the sounds of it, it sounds very healthy compared to other types of grief. Why do you think maybe therapists or nurses don't take this type of route, maybe of maybe take it to a more creative way, put in a dance, put in an art exhibition or this kind of stuff?
I think we're improving. We are improving. After COVID, there was a lot more interest in grief. So my hope is that younger people will get exposed to a lot more ways to approach grief and death than I did growing up and that a lot of people did. So we are learning also so much about grief. All the things that we assume about 5 stages of grief, it's all based on very old research or misunderstandings. So the last 10 years, 30 years, we've seen all these advancements in our understandings of grief. So Mary Frances O'Connor, if you're a book person, her books, The Grieving Brain and The Grieving Body just came out, are amazing resources about the neuroscience of grief and how we're learning so much about how grief affects our brain, how grief affects our bodies, and yes, how helpful things like ways to move our body, different ways to experience and process it. We're learning so much about it. So I'm like, young people, learn with us. Don't get stuck with the old knowledge. Yeah.
So just a question about your history. Would you, before your mother's death, were you working in the arts or something completely different?
I was working as an independent curator. So that's why the exhibitions make sense. So I was working in London helping creative people to show and sell their work. So I would curate pop-up exhibitions, showing their ceramics or their jewelry. So that's why it made sense for me to put on an exhibition about my mother. But looking back too, I'm like, oh, this goes way back. Yes, it's art and design, but it's really about stories and it's about storytelling.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a journalist when I was younger. I was the editor of my high school newspaper. I was editor of my college newspaper. And that's what I thought I was going to do.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, I did something totally different. And no, now I did something totally different. But really, when I look back, all those threads come together, right? It's storytelling, it's working with objects, it's finding different ways to tell stories and narratives. So if as a young person you're thinking, oh my God, I need to pick one path and decide what's going to happen for the rest of my life, I've found that's not the case. All that we do can help to create what our life might look like and what our work might look like.
So just a final question to end the interview. What advice would you give to young people to deal with grief? What's your way? What advice would you give?
To give yourself some grace. Because we judge ourselves so harshly. And the pain of loss is heavy enough. And I find that we burden ourselves with that extra judgment. I need to finish this. I need to go back to school. I need to get through this faster. If I just study grief hard enough, I'll get done with it faster. Give yourself that grace. And when we think of 2 years, some people might think, oh, 2 years, like, aren't you over it already? No. With major loss, 2 years is very recent. And really, when you lose a mother, when you lose a parent, when you lose a spouse, a sibling, a pet, you might experience grief throughout your life. And nothing's wrong with you. So give yourself that grace to be human and to experience grief.
So, could you please talk to both you've been holding the the entire interview? I'm really curious about it.
So I self-published this book end of last year, and it's called Curating Grief because my approach to grief is all about using this lens of curating in exhibitions. It's about my experience of losing my mother and going through all of her belongings, but it's really about using this lens of curating to access emotions and to process grief. It has a bottle of soy sauce on the cover, which makes no sense to some people, but it makes total sense to me, and it makes total sense to the people I'm speaking to. Okay? That you might understand that soy sauce is related to culture. Grief is related to culture and our different identities. So if you want some support, if you want some insights, if you want some funny stories about my mom, that's what I'm hoping to offer.
Read the book, guys. See you next time. Bye bye. Olá, gente, seja bem-vindo a mais um episódio de Teen Talks. A gente está ainda no TEDx, a gente está com o Tana. Você poderia se apresentar para o público, por favor?
Olá, eu sou Cutana Carvalho, sou cantora, sou escritora, portanto sou uma artista multifacetada. É um prazer estar a falar convosco, partilhar aqui algumas coisas que acho que vocês acharão interessante.
Você pode dar um breve resumo de como são as suas canções, as suas músicas, o jeito que você escreve?
Pois, as minhas músicas são músicas muito autênticas. Eu escrevo as músicas baseadas em factos reais, factos sociais, factos pessoais, em várias esferas da sociedade. Portanto, a minha música, ela traz uma mensagem que realmente vem para despertar as pessoas ou fazê-las pensar numa perspectiva diferente sobre determinados assuntos. Portanto, o meu processo de escrita é um processo que flui muito quando estou assim, em momento de introspecção, quando estou em momentos de reflexão, de repente me bate uma inspiração e eu começo logo a escrever. Então, é muito sobre isso, autenticidade, portanto, impactar a vida das pessoas, trazer uma mensagem diferente, de modo as pessoas também poderem ter algum resultado ou refletirem sobre alguma determinada coisa. Faço isso com a música e faço também com a literatura.
Você escreve livros também?
Sim, eu escrevo livros também, portanto tenho o meu livro Sendo Eu, recentemente lançado na União das Cidades Capitais de Língua Portuguesa, isso na UCLA. Portanto, é um livro que está a ser muito bem recebido e para mais eu tenho o meu site que é o www.cutanacarvalho.com ou soucutanacarvalho.com, onde poderão ter acesso às outras coisas que faço e as minhas redes sociais também, Cutana Carvalho, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube e por aí vai.
Como foi o seu caminho até chegar em Portugal?
Esse, o meu caminho foi imprevisível, ou seja, eu fiz uma viagem para Portugal de férias de serviço e acabei por ficar por consequência da Covid-19. Portanto, quando foi para regressar, decretou-se o estado de emergência, então tive que ficar e daí recalculei a minha rota, ou seja, os planos que estavam traçados para Angola, eu comecei a ver outras oportunidades aqui, né, e a caminhar de modos a poder ter resultados com base nas escolhas que ia fazendo a partir de 2020 para cá. Então, pronto, o meu processo foi este, altos e baixos, como qualquer imigrante, como qualquer pessoa que sai de um país para o outro, obviamente tem situações imprevisíveis, não é? Dizia um escritor, que eu não conheço agora o nome, que a vida é aquilo que acontece enquanto fizemos planos para o futuro. Mas hoje eu defendo que a vida é aquilo que acontece enquanto vivemos o agora. Enquanto a gente vai vivendo, a gente vai realizando, a gente vai realmente percebendo que a vida é. A vida não será, a vida é. Então, pensando nessa perspectiva, eu comecei realmente a viver um dia de cada vez e a traçar os meus planos e andar em direção dos meus objetivos traçados.
E nas suas canções você fala que você, infelizmente, perdeu os dois pais.
Sim, tem uma parte da minha música, Aceita Só Como Está, que eu digo: vi um a um partir, sem poder despedir, voltar não dá, parar pior. E sei que Deus não vai me deixar, não vai, não, aceita só como está. Portanto, sim, eu vi o meu pai e a minha mãe a partir sem poder despedir. Ou seja, sem poder dizer um adeus, sem poder saber o que é que eles pensaram, qual foram as últimas palavras. Ouvi algumas coisas de pessoas que estavam realmente próximas, mas eu não consegui ter esse contacto. E eu sempre tive uma ligação muito forte com os meus pais, uma ligação saudável. Portanto, é a minha base, onde aprendi tudo, onde me tornei a pessoa que sou, princípios e valores. Portanto, foi um momento difícil e confesso que isso é um processo. É algo que a gente vai ter que levar para a vida. E levando para a vida, obviamente, tem situações que a gente se depara e que não tem como estar indiferente. Por exemplo, o Natal, que é um momento celebrado em família, ou o dia do pai, ou o dia da mãe. Portanto, às vezes é complicado pensar sobre isso quando estás num contexto que não podes fazer parte dele de forma, da mesma forma que a maioria faz. São coisas da vida, que é o tema do TEDx Lisboa, ou TEDx Lisboa 2025.
Minha pergunta é, qual foi a sua mentalidade e o que você conseguiu fazer para conseguir pegar essa dor gigante e transformar em música?
Eu analisei os factos e percebi que permanecer no chão não seria a solução. Qualquer pessoa que perde pai, mãe, ou que já perdeu uma pessoa muito querida, talvez sabe ou vai entender aquilo que estou a dizer. Mesmo alguém que esteja a interpretar sobre ou a refletir sobre a situação. Não é um contexto fácil. Portanto, eu tive que pegar naquilo que eu tinha de mais valor, que é a minha arte, e com ela poder transformar, portanto, aquele momento que estava a viver como uma mensagem social, uma mensagem para o mundo. Digo mais uma vez, não é fácil, mas a gente vai percebendo ao longo do caminho, à medida que vamos marcando mais um passo, a gente vai perceber que afinal é possível sair daquele estado, é possível olharmos noutra perspectiva, percebemos quais foram as coisas positivas que aprendemos com as pessoas que perdemos. No caso, o meu pai e a minha mãe. Então, essas coisas são as coisas que guardo, os princípios, os valores, a forma como vi a minha mãe a lutar, a correr atrás das coisas. Desde muito pequena, a minha mãe vendia e eu via esse processo da minha mãe comprar um negócio, levava-me às vezes para o mercado e ver aquela realidade. Eu percebi desde muito pequena que a vida não é fácil. Eu percebi desde muito pequena que... e a minha mãe fez questão de mostrar a realidade. Quando digo minha mãe, o meu pai também. Portanto, os meus pais não esconderam-me a realidade da vida. Então eu cresci a ver a vida em diferentes contextos. Não fui poupada propriamente de determinadas coisas que às vezes muitas crianças são poupadas. Por exemplo, eu já fiquei debaixo do prédio a vender. Porque via a minha mãe a vender e às vezes ela deixava-me com o negócio, subia ao prédio para ver alguma coisa e eu já conseguia dar os preços. Portanto, dizer que também eu sou empreendedora e essa parte do empreendedorismo vem muito da minha raiz, vem muito da minha essência, vem muito da minha linhagem familiar.
Só uma última perguntinha para acabar a entrevista. Qual dica você daria para o jovem? Como eles conseguem entrar na indústria da música?
É assim, eu não fui descoberta por um produtor. Eu mesma me descobri na música. Eu entendi que Se eu dependesse das outras pessoas, eu não teria como desenvolver-me. Por quê? Porque as pessoas à minha volta não sonharam isso para mim. Portanto, não sonhando isso para mim, elas não tinham como investir naquilo. E só eu sentia o que eu precisava, só eu sentia aquilo que a arte em mim. Então eu comecei a bater portas de pessoas certas. Eu comecei a andar com as pessoas que realmente já tinham as suas carreiras feitas, outras que também já estavam num passo à frente. E assim eu comecei a crescer, a aprender como se faz. Ou seja, eu fiz mesmo aquele processo de errar, de aprender, de melhorar, assim, marcando os passos e falando também com pessoas que já estão no mesmo mercado. Portanto, o que eu aconselho aos adolescentes, aos jovens que querem, portanto, entrar na indústria da música é baterem as portas, procurarem as pessoas que fazem música, perguntar como é que se faz, como é que elas fazem, estar perto dessas pessoas, conhecerem produtores. Portanto, é importante, quando alguém não te descobre, é importante tu mesmo se descobrir e andar em direção ao teu sonho, porque se continuares assim, meu irmão, o resultado não vai aparecer por si só.
Muito obrigado por estar aqui, muito obrigado pelo seu tempo. Você tem algum último comentário, falar sobre a sua música, ou talvez sobre como você conseguiu passar a dor dos pais? Você tem um último comentário?
Sim, é assim, a morte vem para todos. E a diferença é que uns vão primeiro que os outros. É importante, para eu poder superar, eu tive que ter essa consciência. E o meu sentido de propósito apurou-se ainda mais por ter passado por esse processo. Então, para aquelas pessoas que têm os pais, cuidem dos vossos pais, amem os vossos pais, abracem os vossos pais, respeitem os vossos pais, honrem os vossos pais. Porque você não tem noção do que é perder um pai ou uma mãe. Você não tem noção do que é sentir essa falta. E se calhar alguém vai dizer aí, não, mas eu tenho pai e tenho mãe, mas eles não são presentes. Mas honra, mesmo assim, o teu pai e a tua mãe. Porque enquanto tens, existem outras pessoas que estão a chorar para ter. Enquanto podes dar um abraço, existem outras pessoas que querem muito ter a oportunidade de dar um abraço e essa oportunidade já não vai voltar, já não tem essa oportunidade. Consegues passar os natais com os pais. Enquanto podes fazer isso, abrace essa oportunidade porque tem grande significado na vida de qualquer pessoa.
Muito obrigado. Tchau, tchau, galera.
Tchau, galera.
Hello guys, welcome to a new episode of Teen Talks. We are at TedX and today we have Besma. Please, could you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Oh, hi everyone. Besma. I'd like to introduce myself as Tunisian hardware, German software. I'm an engineer and businesswoman. I live in Portugal right now. I'm passionate about technology and AI, and that was the topic of my speech, of my talk at TEDx today. For the rest, please have a look at my LinkedIn profile. Would love to hear from you guys.
So my first question is, do you think AI is going to be a useful tool for us or is going to replace us all?
Oh, the answer is so clear to me. It's going to be extremely useful, very important. It's not going to change. It's not going to replace human beings. It's not going to replace you students. It's not going to replace people who are working. It's going to replace certain jobs. It's going to augment us human beings. Mm-hmm. I think everyone needs to get involved and understand how they can use AI, how they can leverage the power of AI in their life, in their work, in their job, in their studies. So, yeah, definitely. It's going to be super useful for you.
Okay. But how do you guarantee that? Because especially for me, right?
Yeah.
So many specialists say that it's going to replace us. Some say it's not going to replace us. So us students, we are scared to choose which career. We don't know which careers are going to get replaced or not.
Okay, that's a very good point. Okay. So let me just go back a little bit. When you look at the Industrial Revolution, it did actually replace a lot of jobs or eliminate a lot of jobs. But what happened is so many other jobs were created. Same was with the digital revolution. A lot of jobs were created that you didn't have before the internet, but other jobs were eliminated. With the AI revolution, the same thing is going to happen. Many jobs, especially what we call the knowledge economy, like the knowledge level, it's not going to be bringing any value. Yeah. So there's no point for you as a human being to be coming in to do something that AI can respond to. And AI has access to the immense knowledge of the whole humanity. You've got in your pocket an expert, an educator, a legal advisor, a doctor. They have all the answers. So for you, the younger generation, it's not so much about, okay, what do I need to study to get a particular job? It's about what skills do I need? No matter what you study, what skills do I need? What skills are going to differentiate me as a human being so that I can use AI to augment me rather than being scared of being replaced by AI? And the skills is very simple. It's about being able to ask the right questions. What makes you human is your intuition, your curiosity, your creativity, your desire to seek knowledge, to seek the truth, to question things. So these are things that AI will not be doing. It's going to be kept to us human beings. So focus on the skills and the soft skills rather than on what job is going to be available or not. And the most important thing is to try to focus on how to think and not what to learn and what to think.
So let's track back a bit.
Okay.
I want to learn about your history. So how was your journey to get until this moment, until you're learning about AI and educated about AI?
Okay, so since I was a child, I loved math. I loved science. I actually wanted to be an astronaut, but there was no possibility to be an astronaut in my home country or even in Germany when I was studying engineering. So I went for electrotechnical engineering and I loved it. But then I practiced engineering in R&D centers for several years. And then I realized that I have a passion for running big projects, managing companies, managing revenues. And so I did my MBA a few years after my engineering degree. And then from there on, I went from a career perspective, if you like. I'm a corporate person, so I've been working in Germany, in the UK, in Japan. I took roles from an engineering to project management, strategy, planning, business development, sales, marketing. Nowadays, I have my own company. I advise C-level and boards on their business strategy, their expansion, their growth, a lot based on AI nowadays and how to leverage AI in order to grow their businesses and to build sustainable advantage.
So do you feel women are being fairly represented in this new technological movement?
Totally not. Totally not. I am quite active when it comes to women in tech. I love to see more girls studying STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Yeah. And therefore having more women starting their jobs as engineers, as managers, as directors, as senior leaders, so that we can, what we call, have enough people or enough women for the funnel. We don't have that right now, not in traditional technology fields. Yeah. And much less for AI. So right now we have about 22% of the AI professionals, the experts that are developing AI right now. 22% only are women. That's 1 in 5. Yeah. And as we discussed earlier, like AI requires all skills, requires a diverse set of knowledge and expertise to make sure that we build an AI that is for the best for our future and not a biased AI, if you like.
So just a final question to end this interview. What advice you give to young people to educate themselves about AI, how to use it properly?
That's a very good question because I'm not sure if there is one answer fits all. But
I think it multiple answers.
Yes, but I'll try to leave it as generic as possible, but as specific as possible for you young people. It's really about educating yourself in your field by going in and asking questions. There are so many open courses and free online courses right now. So it depends on your interests, whether you're a programmer or whether you love finance or you are more into science or into medicine or whatever you're doing. the only thing I would say is like go to ChatGPT and just say I'm doing this and that. I would like to know more about AI and how it's going to implicate or to impact my future and my profession. And I want you to develop a full program for me to learn more about AI in the next, let's say, 4 weeks. And you'll get a full program on a daily basis, what you should study, where you can find it, and how you can evolve, and what modules you need to have, in order to build your capacity. What I would recommend to every young student like you is just don't go on the passive side. Don't say, I'll figure it out when I finish studying, or this is not relevant for me today, or I have no time because I've got so many exams and I don't have time for that right now. Whoever is going to understand how AI is solving real problems and what type of skills are necessary in the AI age, these are going to be the leaders of the next generation. So it's up to you to decide, do you want to be a leader or a follower? Do you want to be told what your life is going to look like, or do you want to be involved in that? And you can always find the time to study and learn and understand how AI is evolving. And I can tell you, every single week stuff is happening and it's mind-blowing. So invest your time.
Thank you so much. That's some great advice. Thank you for coming here, giving your time. Do you have any final comments on AI or maybe women in STEM?
I think perhaps the one thing that I would like to leave here, and which is something I try to focus on in the TED Talk, is trying to make it clear that AI is not just a subject for engineers and experts. It's not for data scientists and machine learning engineers. It's for everyone. Everyone needs to be involved. This is as transformative as electricity hundreds of years ago. So everyone needs to get involved, whether you're a mother of teenagers, or whether you're a doctor or a nurse, or a businessman, or a housewife. It doesn't matter what you do. It's going to impact your life. And therefore, I would say AI literacy is for everybody. So we don't have it structured right now. So the EU AI Act has defined exactly what is AI literacy for employees, for employers to educate their employees. But we need that in the society with everybody else, not just in the job. So right now, there's no such a structured system of how to educate society on AI. So it's really up to you. You need to join the discussion. You need to join the debate. You need to educate yourself in order to understand how this transformative technology is going to impact our lives.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye, guys. See you next time.